Well, hello there, beautiful teachers. Welcome to another wonderful week. First off, I just want to say thank you to absolutely everyone who participated in the Studio Business Cleanse last week. It was a lot of work to put that together, but I've had some amazing feedback. Teachers are really seeing clarity, and it's really improved how they're thinking about the new year and as they're putting together policies and enrollment forms and all this good stuff. And that's absolutely fantastic to hear. So if you took the cleanse and you haven't let me know how you felt about it, how you found it, finding your superpower and all that good stuff, then do let me know about that. And if you are a member of Vibrant Music Teaching and you want to watch back the cleanse, it was over last week for the public, but members can catch it now inside the library. So it's under the webinars section and you guys can watch it at any time there, as well as the full Business Reboot course, of course. So thank you so much again for those of you who participated. But today we're talking about something quite different. It's also something that's a bit of an end of year phenomenon, but it's not to do with your business. What I want to talk to you about today is that kind of student burnout that we get at this time of year. So this is a time of year when students, they have a lot going on. Older students might have end of year exams. I know my students, many of them are heading into either school or state exams at this time of year. So big stuff going on there. And if they're in primary school, they're still in school at this time of year, but really they've checked out. And in school things are happening like sports days and all sorts of sports competitions going on. And mostly the teachers in school are probably just trying to keep them at their desks because it's sunny outside and all they want to do is go outside and play. But they've been forced to stay inside probably most of the day, right? And try and concentrate. And then we get them after all of that. Oh my gosh. So it's no wonder that sometimes they come to us and they're just burnt out and they've totally lost their enthusiasm for what we're doing. And they don't mean to be uncooperative or difficult, but it can feel like that way to us. And this is especially not ideal because at this time of year, as the Studio Business Cleanse reflected on, we're talking about next year. We're talking about September and re-enrollment. And if students are not really enjoying their lessons, if they're feeling like all we do is nag at them for not practicing because they're not practicing because they spend all day in school and then all they want to do is get out in sunshine. If we're just nagging at them about that, then they're not going to be super enthused about next year. Now, it's not going to have a massive effect, but it might just be that tipping point that some students or some parents need to rethink re-enrollment for next year, and we don't want that either. But mostly it's just about us having a good time and vibing with our students because we have to acknowledge where they're at and what's going on in their lives. So if you have any students who are a little bit burnt out, seeing some of these symptoms that I'm talking about, please hit that like button or heart button or tell me about your experience with these students. Whether you're watching live or on the replay, I'd love to hear how your students are getting on and whether you're seeing some of this burnout taking place. But we want to come up with a solution, more importantly, right? So let's get on to it. My first solution is going to surprise you. Scales. Odd solution to burnout and boredom. What I mean by scales, well, it is scales. Have an entire lesson all about scales. Do everything you possibly can with scales. So explore the scales that they already know. Improvise with them. I love doing this around the circle of fifths. Going around the circle of fifths, improvising with each scale along the way. Another thing I love to do is to compose with scales. So take that scale, take it apart, get them to compose a piece with it. Add the chords to go along with it. Then find that scale in every piece you possibly can. Just do everything you possibly can with that scale before you move on to the next one. Another fab way to explore scales is using iReal Pro and Music Lock, both fantastic apps for backing tracks for scales. And the reason I suggest spending a whole lesson on scales is often we segment this into the very start of lessons, right? And it's like the technical drill and it's a bit of a drag, but it doesn't have to be. And scales are actually useful. They're actually a wonderful way to explore music and its foundations and all that stuff. Got some great comments coming in here. Carrie says, I think students are way overscheduled, and I have a few this summer whose parents have overscheduled them even more. Oh my gosh. Jacqueline says, I struggle with this all the time. Try incentives, works with some, not all. Yeah, if it's all year, that's a bigger problem. But sometimes we have those months, right, Jacqueline, where it's just, it's just a bad month for practicing. And if we nag at them, it's not going to get us anywhere. Carrie just says, ha, that emoji. She's talking about this one. Exploding head. Because that's what it feels like when I'm saying scales are the antidote to something being boring. And Christine says she fears her students will check out after their summer recital next week. Yeah, especially for those of us who have finished recitals like I have. And we're also finishing up our composing project. So I'm going to be heading into a few weeks where really, they're going to be a bit burnt out on everything. They're going to be burnt out in school. And we don't have any specific fun stuff going on. So that's why these projects are a great idea. So number 2, I mentioned a little bit during scales, but that's composing. Take these weeks when there's not going to be a ton of practice happening and use it as an opportunity to do an entire composing project during the lesson. Yes, I mean it. Ignore their pieces, ignore their scales, or give them a quick review, or just give them the option. Is there anything you want to show me that you practiced this week or that you want help with? If yes, listen to it. If no, spend the whole time composing. How fun would that be? And how much more rewarding is that than going through pieces that you did last week and that all they need to do is practice? They don't need any more help on them. I think that's a better use of your time. So grab one of the composing projects from my site and just do the entire thing in the next few weeks. You can do that. There's one Animal Menagerie from last year, Spring Themes from the year before that, or this year's one was Circus Collective. Use one of those and get your students to compose an entire piece, learn a ton about form and melody and harmony and articulation and dynamics and the value of all these things and how to tell a story through music. Carrie says, I struggle with composing. Is there anything on the VMT website that could help with that? Yes, totally. Carrie, if you're a member of Vibrant Music Teaching, what you need to do is hop over, grab one of the composing project. If you need more hand-holding or you want to extend the activities further, go to courses and look at the Composer Cultivation course, because that expands upon the composing projects and adds tons of complementary activities and walks you through the whole thing, and there's video walkthroughs with me saying exactly what to do all along the way. Marcus says, we fortunately teach a variety of instruments. Many times a student, young or old, will enjoy spending a lesson or two learning about uke, guitar, banjo, drums. I love this. That's a great idea. That's so wonderful. Yeah, even as pure piano teachers, we could spend a whole lesson on a xylophone. Why not? Boom whackers, other fun stuff. Great idea. Love that. My third idea is Garageband. So Garageband is a fantastic app if you don't know it. It's on the iPad and it's on the Mac. I recommend the iPad version. So if you have an iPad, it's free. It's already on your iPad. It was preloaded when you bought it. So amazing, already there and incredible. It's such a great resource. And with students I've had before who were chronic non-practicers, perhaps parents forcing them into lessons, I've actually taken entire semesters just to explore Garageband with them, get them doing all sorts of stuff and interacting with music, because it's such a great way to do it in the lesson and it doesn't require home practice and we can improvise on top of it and all that stuff. I'm not going to go hugely in depth of how I use Garageband because I muddled my way through it with no training and just battled my way through, right? And that worked fine, and you may have done that a little bit too. But actually, Tim Topham has just released a course on this, and the first few modules are on YouTube for free. So go to YouTube, look up Tim Topham's channel, Creative Piano Teaching, and just watch that. That's my recommendation, because I couldn't do nearly as good a job of walking through Garageband as he has done there. And he's way more efficient with it than I am, so I'm picking up some tips from him too. Okay, my next option is a reading marathon. So could you do a reading marathon with your students? What does this mean? I'd love to know if any of you have ever tried this, by the way. Leave a comment if you are familiar with this concept. Student comes into lessons, hasn't practiced, or, is a little bit unenthused, and you just take out a book, possibly a book of pieces that would appeal to them, such as like Disney or something that they would be into, at a way easier level. Now, on purpose, I didn't call this a sight reading marathon. That's kind of what it is, but don't say sight reading if that has a negative connotation in your studio. Just call it a reading marathon. And you're going to read through all of these pieces together at the lesson, as many as you possibly can. It's actually really fun, and it takes the pressure completely off of, practice this and do this and get better all the time. No, let them feel competent. Let them feel like they know what they're doing and they have learned a lot, and they can use this skill to just relax and enjoy playing through stuff. So it could be solo stuff. Even better is to do this with duets, and I've talked about that before, but it is really my favorite way to do it, because you're participating in it as well. The pressure is off them, and you get to hold them to the tempo and not let them backtrack and all that stuff as well. So it works out really well for that reason. And of course, some of you may have guessed this, but my fifth option for your burnt out students is to play games. How could you have possibly guessed that? But it actually is such a great solution to this, because you can work on all these theory concepts, you can explore different things, you can learn about new things, you can play a game like Creative Candies, which is all about improvisation and learning theory terms at the same time. You can do so much with games, and it definitely doesn't require practice, and it's definitely going to be out of the norm. Most of the time, I suspect you do not spend the entire lesson playing games. But why not? It's just a few weeks before summer break, or maybe a week for you. Spend a lesson playing games. They're going to learn a ton, and if any parents object to this, tell them to talk to me. No, if any parents object to this, explain what you're teaching through that, but most of the time they're not going to. They can see that their kid has a lot going on, they've been learning all year, they've been working so hard, and they deserve an opportunity to just play some games and have some fun with music theory in a productive way that gets stuff done, but is, like an end-of-year party, or several weeks of an end-of-year party, if that's the way the practicing goes at this time of year. So, of course, you can get tons of games on my site, as many of you know, if you join and become a member at vibrantmusicteaching.com. If you want more games to use in your lessons, or you want courses that teach you about composing, a chord crash course, or the latest one, the Studio Business Reboot, if you're struggling with the business side of your business, then hop on over there to check that out. Let me run through these ideas one more time. So number one is to do scales for the entire lesson in every way imaginable. Do backing tracks, do composing, do improvising, do anything you can think of to do with scales. It actually can be fun, I promise. Number two is composing. Get your student to compose a piece, either in one lesson or over several, using a project like I have in the VMT library and all the Colourful Keys blog, to walk you through the entire process with them. Number three, get them to use Garageband and build up a backing track for their own improvisation, or create a harmony or a full band to go with a piece that they're currently playing. Play games with them, of course. And number five, do a reading marathon, read through an entire book or several books of stuff that they're going to love, that's going to be easy for them to read and really enjoyable and really fun. I hope you guys enjoyed these ideas today. If you did, please do subscribe. Subscribe to Colourful Keys on Facebook or on YouTube if you're watching this there, and you'll get the next one as soon as it goes live. Until then, Have a great rest of your Tuesday, guys. Bye for